When I was 10 years old, my mom passed away, and then everything shifted. I caught a DUI, and then I ended up getting incarcerated, and they actually sent me to prison. Just because of your past or whatever you've done, it does not define who you're gonna be in the future.
You could have been a victim, but instead you allow that adversity to grow you. How have you been able to actually use adversity as a superpower instead of as a crutch?
I've just used adversity to kind of like, okay, I'm down, but I'm gonna prove everyone wrong. If you tell me I can't do something, it's game over. I'm gonna do everything to make that happen.
If in life you do what is easy, life becomes hard. But if you do what is hard, life becomes easy. You currently right now run the largest office in all of Legacy. You guys did about 900 installs this year and counting. What are some things that people can apply today?
Very simple. I break down the problem in it. Solar sales. The real problem is the future amounts they're going to be paying to the utility. Because two things are just a fact of life. Number one, you're going to use electricity for the rest of your days. Just fact. We live in America.
So what are some things you do post-close?
Super practical. What I do is...
Welcome to the VIP, the Valor Impact Podcast. My name is Jon Soriano. We believe that you can have it all, that you can be successful in all areas of your life, your faith, your family, your fitness, your finance, that you do not have to choose between one or the other. And as you listen in, take notes, take it all in, ask yourself, how can I apply this today? How can I go out there and execute today? Because we're gonna teach you a wide range of things, from sales, from leadership, to finances, to mindset, to even how to have success in sales and in your marriage. And my only ask is that you like this video, you subscribe to it, you share it with somebody in the sales industry, and that you also ultimately go out there and execute on everything that you want.
Welcome to the Valor Impact Podcast, the VIP, where we believe your best self is found on the other side of doing hard things. The reason we have this podcast is to extract the gold out of individuals who are operating at a high level in sales. And so today we have the man, the myth, the goat of goats, Mr. Jack Pastrano. Jack has been in the solar industry for a few years, but the sales industry as a whole a lot longer. And he has accomplished remarkable things. He's been Installer of the Year within Legacy Power 3 years in a row. It's easy to have one good month, one good quarter, even one good year, but to do it 3 years in a row, that's definitely no easy feat. So, Jack, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, brother? What's up? Thanks for having me. Super, super excited. You reached out to me and I was like, damn, it's about time. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, no, Jack is a wealth of wisdom. And so definitely we're going to extract a lot of gold out of you today. But why don't we first start? Dude, give us a quick bio in your story. I believe you have such a powerful one, but kind of just share with us how you got into sales.
So quick snippet, born and raised San Diego, California. My mom, my dad, my two sisters, and everything we grew up great. And then when I was 10 years old, my mom passed away. My mom was the bread earner. My mom was, the matriarch, if you will. And then everything shifted in our life. Like it was electricity was getting cut off, water was getting cut off. So we grew up pretty rough, but when you're young, you don't really notice. Like you just that's just life, right? It's not like we had a bad childhood. And then my dad, he loved my dad, but he's like my older brother. Well, he's like my younger brother, right? So my dad, if my dad calls me right now, I'll be like, yo, like, you're like, who are you talking to? My dad.
Yeah.
We struggled for a while. My sister, my eldest sister, Yetley, she kind of like took on that mother role and for me, and she applied for a job for me at a bank, right? I was just, a server at a restaurant, applied for a job for me at a bank. They called me one day like, yeah, we got your application. And immediately, like, I just know my sister. I was like, oh yeah. Like I figured right away, oh yeah, Yetley applied for me. She had all my info. So she applied for me. That was kind of my first like little intro to sales. I was just like, a teller, and they tell you like upsell for a checking account or upsell for a savings account at X, Y, and Z. And then fast forward, I was actually there for 7 years. So I worked at a bank for 7 years. And then I'd always been like hanging out and, drinking and, not too hard drugs, but I was like smoking weed and doing all of that. And then I just started getting more and more trouble. Like I was Monday through Friday at the bank, shirt, tie, all that. And on the weekends, just go ham. And that pretty much just caught up to me. And then I caught a DUI. And then I caught another one. And then I ended up getting incarcerated. And after I got incarcerated, they actually sent me to prison. So they sent me to prison, which was crazy. But there's a longer story behind that. I was getting in fights and stuff in downtown. So the judge thought I was kind of like a menace, right? He literally told me that. He's like, you don't learn. So he sent me to prison. And then once I went to prison and I got out, I realized that everything I had done, which is like corporate America for the past 8 years, was out.
Wow.
Everything was out. And then I was introduced to network marketing. My now wife, right? My girlfriend at the time, Jenny.
Hey, she was a real one. She stuck it through, didn't she?
She held me down. Held me down. Those that know, she held me down. Letters.
She's a true ride or die.
Yeah, absolutely. Letters in the pen, all that.
There's Dear John and then there's Dear Jack.
Yeah, that part. Exactly. So I got introduced to network marketing, and that was where they casted the dream, and they casted like, hey, just because of your past or whatever you've done, like it does not define who you're going to be in the future.
Yeah.
One thing that was funny is that I kind of prided myself going through all of high school. I never read one book.
Wow.
Right. I was like, who reads? Right. Because it's where I grew up. Like, you don't read. Like, squares read. We don't read. And then when I got into network marketing, they started asking me like, hey, what books are you reading? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, who reads? And then that's what introduced me to personal development. And that's literally kind of like changed flipped the script for me.
Yeah.
Is that I realized that like I can be a better version of myself and really pouring into myself, and that, empty your, all the lines, right? Enter your bank into your bank account, into your bank account, into your mind will fill your bank account, and all these things I started realizing. And the one thing about network marketing is they're really good at casting the vision, casting the dream.
Wow.
And we went to all the major events. We were just hungry. We were just eating information, actually applying it.
Yeah.
Recruiting like crazy, selling like crazy, but you don't really make any money. Right? You don't make any money, but I believed I was going to be a millionaire. I knew I was going to be a millionaire, and it just didn't look like how I thought it was going to look. I was in a network marketing, shout out World Ventures, travel company that actually went out of business during COVID. But, and then I got introduced to solar because during all that time, no one does network marketing full time unless you're like really, really high up. Sure. I was barbering.
Yeah.
Right. So I was barbering, and then one of my clients who actually used to work for Legacy in the San Diego office, he was always pulling up in different cars, and I like love cars. So I didn't want to do solar. I just saw him pulling up in different cars all the time. I'm like, what do you do? And he said, I do solar. Next thing I said, I was like, I have a condo. Like, can I get solar? And he hit me with I have to qualify.
Yeah. It worked.
Yeah, it worked. Came to my house, showed me the plan. I was like, it's less than what I'm paying now. Why wouldn't I do it? Got solar. And then COVID hits like 6 months later. I went from doing 14 cuts a day to like 14 cuts a month.
Wow.
Right. Like, it was bad. And I was, driving around people's houses, giving them haircuts. And I actually came to our old office here to give that guy a haircut. And Jake Ransom, we all know him. We all love him. Yeah. Right. I'm sure he's been on the podcast. Jake, bald head, has no hair, pulls up a chair. He's like, I'm next. Didn't know who Jake was, but now I know that's who Jake is, right?
Yeah.
And and he's like, very next thing he said to me, he's like, Jack, when are you gonna come do solar with us? And I responded, I'm high key down. Came to Correlation the next Tuesday.
Yeah.
We signed 8 the first week. Let's go.
And then, dude, you said some good things. First of all, for people that don't know, you now are a millionaire, right? And then some.
Yeah.
And so you own multiple homes. I know you even have like a business with kind of like a car fleet, and among other things, you also bought the barber shop you used to work at. Now you're the owner. You used to be the barber. Now you're the owner, and we'll definitely get more into that. But as I reflect on your story, the word that keeps coming to mind is, you've overcame a lot of adversity, and I think most people would look at your story and just kind of look at it more from a victim mindset of like, oh, woe is me. Oh, you said your mom passed away. And, I know there's a story there with your dad where maybe you kind of felt like you had to grow up on your own and you had to be your own dad, your own mom, and kind of even look out for your siblings. And then, And then, there's a story there with federal prison. You went there and you also could have been a victim and been like, you know what? And I'm sure society has also labeled you certain ways. As I hear your story, you could have been a victim, but instead you allow that adversity to grow you. So talk to me about, how do you view adversity? How have you been able to actually use adversity as a superpower instead of as a crutch?
Yeah. I've just always been the type of person, like even before I went through a whole bunch of things, like glass half full type of person. And I've just used adversity to kind of like, okay, I'm down. Like this has happened to me, but I'm going to prove everyone wrong. Right. It's so strange. I don't know when I started this, but it was some time when I was in and out. Right. Like I told a real quick story, but obviously I've been to prison 2 times. Right. I've been in county jail multiple times through that. I would say like a 10-year period of I was just running around, messing around. And I remember my sister went to Loyola Law, right? Like Chicago in Illinois, like attorney, like does really well. She told me one time and just out of straight love, but she's like, Jack, you had so much potential. I remember she said it like as if it was gone. Like, she's like, you could have been so much. And she was probably talking to me on the phone when I was in jail. I don't remember exactly when, but she told me that. And then at that moment, I made up, like I said, there's probably so many people that think like that about Jack. There's so many people that are like, dang, Jack, I remember him from high school and he could have been this. And Jack could have been that. He could have been an actor. He could have like so many things. And then ever since that moment, I was like, I'm just going to prove all those naysayers, I'm gonna shut them up. I'm gonna prove them wrong, right? And just my mentality, like the way I'm built, like you can edify me, you can talk, people talk like say, hey, Jack's done this and that, and yeah, that's amazing. It feels good. But if you tell me I can't do something, it's game over. Like I'm gonna do everything to make that happen. So adversity, it's like everything in life. Like you go to the gym and it's hard, right? Literally your muscles rip. Like, I don't know, I'm sure you have. Actually, I went to the gym with you. Literally the next day I was like, something's wrong. Like I might need to go to the doctor because my biceps were in so much pain. Yeah. It hurts.
The 10 sets of 10 sets of 10 reps of bicep curls.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
With very little break.
Very little break, yeah.
That's how you grow.
That's how you grow. Yeah. Right. And if you just look at a lot of the greats, like they come from adversity. They come from hardship. There's a saying that says, show me a great man that's a son of a great man. Wow. And that gap is that when your life is soft and your life is easy, you don't have that grind. You don't have that grit. Right. Imagine if AI and, all this stuff is coming and, like the Tesla bot and all these things. But imagine if you wanted to make a person as strong and as hard as you, to survive life. What would you put them through?
Hard stuff.
You'd put them through really hard stuff.
That reminds me of a quote. Les Brown says, if in life you do what is easy, life becomes hard. But if you do what is hard, life becomes easy. Yep. And, right now we're filming a new series called The Art of the Close. And you're an individual that is phenomenal at closing and sales, right? You get in a home and you already know they're going to go solar with you, right? They're going to say yes. You've mastered influence, but you definitely don't get there without some adversity, which is why I love kind of starting with that topic of adversity, because you have to be willing to go through hardships because, the Iron Cowboy said this at Legends, but, life doesn't become easier. You just get better. Yeah. Right. And so that's why you're at where you're at, not because life is easy for you. A lot of people will look at you now and be like, oh, well, it must be nice to have X, Y, and Z. No, life isn't easy for you. It's just you just got better. Yeah. Right. You were able to tolerate more. So share with us kind of early on in your sales career, whether it was in network marketing, whether it was in solar, kind of what were some practical things you did to kind of build that foundation? Because whenever you start on any career path, you want to have a strong foundation because everything great is always built on a strong foundation. And so share with us some practicals or kind of, some things you did early on in your career in sales that helped you kind of get the results that you have right now.
Yeah, for sure. Reading books, personal development, I would say is probably the biggest key to what I translated it translates over perfectly to solar sales or really any sales. When you're working 100% commission job, you have to be willing to go through the motions and be willing to know that the paycheck is coming. And the only way you can do that is by your mindset being sharp.
Yeah.
And that's why I attribute to network marketing, because there was a training, and I've done it several times since then, but they pretty much were all taught, right? Like, go to school, get good jobs to get a good, right? Get good grades to get a good job, right? We're all taught that.
Yep.
And we're taught to work, get paid, work, get paid, work, right? Every 2 weeks you get paid. And then you get into commission only sales and you work, a small little paycheck. Then you work. And our brains, they're not wired like that. We've been wired for 18 years, 30 years, however old we are, when you start commission only sales, to your whole life, you've been wired to work, get paid.
Right.
And now you come in this industry and they're like, hey, you're going to just work a lot and you're not going to really make much money until, right, that flip comes. And that's where, with network marketing, I just started doing personal development, and I knew that it was going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I just got obsessed, and then I just got obsessed with the process. So every single day I'm reading, I'm learning about, in network marketing, I was learning about different things, but just learning about becoming a master. That's all I wanted to do. It's not a mystery, like how to get in shape, right? The 1% in the world, they don't have this secret that where they can get in shape. No, we all know how to get in shape. It's just doing the actions. So whatever I was doing, and when I became a setter, I was like, I'm just going to become like the best setter. Yeah. I don't need to know about closing. I just want to become a master at one thing. So I just became obsessed, just constantly reading, constantly watching YouTube videos, constantly like watching,
this podcast,
right? I wish it was around. No, realistically, the other podcast, Solarpreneur.
Come on.
Literally listening to his podcast and listening to what other people are doing in the industry. It's not a secret. Yeah. It's not a secret how to close sales, right? There's the way of the wolf. There's people that have been doing it a long time. There's not a secret how to knock doors. It's not a secret.
Sure.
It's just, are you going to do the more than everyone else?
Yeah.
I forgot what it is, but if you do, like, mastery is like 10,000 hours or something. 10,000. But even if you, I've heard, even if you do a third of that, you're better than the rest other 95% in the world at that thing. Wow. Like, you don't have to be a master at it, but if you spend 3,500 hours working on something, you're better than most of the world at it. Yeah. Right. So that's all I did. I'm not magic. I just have always worked a normal job. Yeah. So I treated sales like a normal job. It's not necessarily 9 to 5, but I was putting in 40 hours a week. Yeah. Even if I was only on the doors, 30 hours a week, the other 10, I was studying the craft.
And I love that, because in a way you simplify success. And I think a lot of people think success in anything is this elaborate, complex thing, right? And you talked about fitness. I mean, fitness is as simple as calories in have to equal less than calories out. If you do that long enough, you're going to lose weight. You're going to get in shape, right? Okay. Gain muscle, go to the gym 3 times a week, minimum 20 minutes minimum, right? And protein, right? It's very simple, right? But people are looking for like a certain workout, certain pill. And I think it's the same thing in the doors and in sales. And, you hit on the nail. Hey, read books, like your job becomes now developing. I'm curious. I mean, I don't know, give us recommendations. What's your top mindset book, or what's a good entry level book for someone that's listening to this? Like, hey, I'm maybe new to sales, or I want to get better. What would you say are some recommendations?
So a good mindset one is like what you say when you talk to yourself, by like Chad Helmstetter, I think it is, right? How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's probably like the first one I read. But that one, to me, honestly, it was a little bit above my head at being new, right? The Way of the Wolf, honestly, for sales, right? Like learning the straight line system. And even though I don't like exactly follow it, like there's so many nuggets in there. Yeah. Right. So I would say just a few.
Will you ever write a book?
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you said that. I was kidding. I might. I don't know. I don't have any plans on doing it.
Just for fun. I mean, if you ever did write a book, what would you write it on?
That's a really good question. I've literally never thought about that.
I don't know.
I think it has a little bit of my life in there.
Maybe people can drop in the comments if Jack Pastrano should write a book.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, dude, you have a powerful story, so why not, right?
Yeah, I think that'd probably be the first one about like that whole, because it's a pretty gnarly.
So going in some, some strategies and techniques, because like I said, you are, to give people some stats, you have hundreds and hundreds of accounts, installed by you, and you've only been in solar 3.5 years, right? So in 3.5 years, your all-time, what is it? 430, right? So 430 accounts in 3.5 years. I would say majority are self-gen, like over 70%, right? Probably self-gen. So it's not even like you have this crazy team of setters and stuff like that. Like, yes, you've obviously mastered the art of how to teach people how to set appointments, but I know you've mastered referral games, you've mastered the HOA game. Like, you're really good with the HOAs, and you meet with the board, and you really live out our mission statement of providing that extraordinary service. But something that you said, I think a year or two ago, that stuck with me is that when you go into a close, you have this mindset of, it's done, it's finished. Like, you see yourself closing the deal. Where I think amateur people, they go in there and they have this, I hope it closes mindset. Like, oh, I hope it closes. Like, I hope it goes through. But I remember you said it at one of the conferences where you're like, no. Like, in my head, it's already happened. Time just hasn't caught up. So talk us through that mindset, because I think for people to master the art of the close, I think that, I would say, is the beginning step. That's like step one. Yeah. Right. Because if you don't have that down, and you can have the best verbiage, the best talk tracks, the best proposal, price, whatever, but if mentally you don't believe it's going to close, I mean, so anyway, so yeah, talk us through that. Yeah. I mean, it's just my belief, right? Like,
since I believe it's going to close and I know it's going to close, my confidence when I go in the house, it's just different, right? Like, and I got solar before I started working in solar, like I explained.
Wow.
So I knew it worked.
Yeah. That's huge.
It was the biggest thing ever, because when people are like, no, like, that my bill's really not going to go from here to there, X, Y, and Z, I'm like, it's confusing to me, because I'm literally living it.
Yeah.
Right. It's almost like, I heard Tony Robbins say this, that it's almost like if I knew your favorite car in the world is a Ferrari, right? And there's a brand new one, 2024. It's in the parking lot right here. And there's someone that something happened, and they're selling it for $700. Like, they need that $700. And I'm telling you, and you're like, yeah, no, but and you're giving me him and Hein. Like, there's no way I would not let you buy that. Like, I wouldn't let you not buy it. Like, I'm going to almost force you to buy it, right? Because I know it's what you want. I know it's a great deal. I know all these things, right? And I just knew how great of a deal this solar thing was. They're already doing it. So when I was in homes, and that's why in the beginning, we just closed so many, like, so fast, and everyone was signing up. And, several years back, I did a training called Accounts Don't Cancel. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know they could cancel, because my first 12, all of them went to install. Signed 12, all 12 went to install. And then it's almost like, speaking of belief, once I got my first cancel, I feel like, more started happening. But I just know how great of a deal it is, number one. And the second thing is, you talked about influence, and I feel like I've worked a lot on influence, and I'm very good at influence. And we used to say this back in network marketing, but I've been working on myself for so long that the average person just doesn't, right? They just don't. And it's completely fine. But so when I walk into someone's home, a homeowner, I'm not saying I'm better than them or anything, but I've been working on myself. Like, I'm dialed in, and that person probably hasn't. So it's not even like really fair. Yeah. Right. Like, they're going to do, luckily in solar, we're helping them out. It's a great thing for them, but they're going to do what I show them is the right thing to do. Yeah. Because I believe in it so much, and I know it's going to help them. Yeah. And just like that Ferrari or whatever, right? Like, I know this is good for you. So I'm going to do my best to help them see that as well. Yeah. Well, what are some other things that you do in the close? I mean, I know we could probably sit here for hours talking about, maybe certain one-liners, or like, how do you structure your close, for people looking to go from, where they're at to the next level. Like, what are some things that they can implement? Because, to give, even to give the viewers just some stats. I mean, dude,
you've closed during the Masters, which is a 3-week competition. You'll close 20, 30, 40 accounts in that time period. You've also helped develop many people to have remarkable numbers. You currently right now run the largest office in all of Legacy. You guys did about 900 installs this year and counting. We still have, as of this recording, we still have 2 weeks left in the.
You can get to 1,000.
You can get to 1,000 installs in a year in one office, right? It's just one office. And so, anyway, share with us what do you do in the home? Like, what are some practical things that people can apply today?
So super practical. What I do is I repitch them, right? So if it's a setter that set the appointment for me, I kind of need to repitch the homeowner, like sit down with them and honestly be like, all right, so like this is what we're doing here today. And I just repitch, like as if I'm at the door. I'm like, so essentially, right? Like we're sent out just to see which homes and homeowners can qualify, right? And we do PPA all day here, obviously, right? So, it's a fully funded program. And I just repitch. So you need to make sure that they're on the same page, right? I need to make sure they know it's solar, because we've all had those set appointments. This is solar, right? So I need to make sure they know it's solar.
I thought you were with STG&E.
Right, exactly. I repitch them just basically so they could just see where we're at. And then what I do is I just start explaining their current situation with the utility, right? That's the first thing I do. Hey, this is what all we did is we got the bar graph on your bill, right? Send it over to the engineers. They kind of crunch the numbers and they made me up a proposal. Okay. So in a year, and I show them what they're using total, right? It's very, very simple, like, 1 + 1 = 2 type of math, but I need to make sure they understand their situation first. I need to make sure they understand their problem. If they don't think they have a problem, there's no solution I can show them, right? That's sales, obviously, right? You take the bus, you're tired of taking the bus, you save up money, you go into the car dealership. That's going to solve your problem of the bus.
Right.
So I show them their problem. Very simple. I break down, hey, this is what you're using in a year. All the bar graphs added up, divided by 12 to show them their average monthly usage times their cost per kilowatt hour. So this is your average monthly payment today, right now. I'm not making this stuff up. It's from your bill. Boom. So once they agree, they have to agree.
Have you have people that argue with you on that?
Oh, 100%.
Really?
Absolutely. I'd be like, hey, like,
there's no way my bill is this much.
Yeah, no. And I just say like, hey, like, yeah, you're right. This past month, your bill is only $120. But remember this summer, and I'll show them, you use 916 kilowatt hours, times that by your cost.
Real quick pause. You did something there that's good. You say, hey, yeah, you're right. And I know part of selling is, you never want to come off as disagreeable, right? Like, no, you're wrong. No one wants to be told wrong. So school, you just said, no, yeah, you're right. It's actually, yeah, you're right. You pay 120 this month, and then you expand.
Yeah, I agree. And then just transition. So I just show them, okay, so 971 kilowatt hours, whatever, times 45 cents. Yes, they're paying that much in San Diego. Equals $348, right? So that I'm saying it's not fair of me if I only base it off of this small bill, but it's also not fair for me to base it off of your really high bill.
Right.
So we get all of them together and get an average. Does that make sense? Or
yeah.
Right. And then I want it to be like, if I'm explaining this to an 8-year-old,
right?
An 8-year-old, I believe, will be able to completely understand my presentation, right? Because it's just like, this is what we did. We got this. Are you following? Cool. And the great thing, practical, do this tomorrow, today, when you're in an appointment, have them pull out their calculator. Have them, like, okay, so this is what you're using in a year. Like, write that down. Then their calculator, pull out your phone. Divide that by 12 because it's 12 months in a year. And we're both doing it. They're doing it. I'm doing it. So it's on their phone now. Like, just in case for some weird reason you think I have a trick calculator on my phone or something, they're breaking it down themselves. And when someone does it themselves, they believe it even more.
Yeah.
Right. So then I'd make sure they agree.
It's kind of like Inception, the movie.
Yeah, literally.
Right? Whether you plant the seed, if they believe that it came from them, they're more likely to believe it, which just sounds like that's what you do. You have them be like, no, you do it, because then when they do it, they're like, oh, wow. Like, yeah, this is what you're telling me is true.
Exactly. So very simple. I just show them the problem. I break down the problem. And in solar sales, the problem is the amount they're paying to the utility.
Right.
But the real problem is the future amounts they're going to be paying to the utility, right? Gas prices. I always talk about gas prices in my close because everyone in the United States has felt the pain of gas, right? And the way I frame it now, because we're in California and we're doing batteries and your bill used to be 300 and you're cutting down to 150, those days are gone, right? Now it's like, hey, your bill's 300, I'll bring you down to 220, 230. And homeowners are going to think you're trying to get over on them because everyone has a friend that was paying 300 is now paying 150, right? Everyone has that friend and they want that deal. Hey, those days are gone. I explain NEM 2 to NEM 3 and why we're using batteries. And then I just say this, hey, check this out. Let's say I knocked on your door 10 years ago, but I'm not doing solar. I'm doing gasoline, like for vehicles. And I say, hey, you know what? I have a program I can get you in, and you're paying $3 for gas, right? I have a program I can enroll you, and we're going to get you in at $2.90. At that moment, you look at me like, Jack, really? 10-cent savings? You probably wouldn't be too excited about it.
Yeah.
Imagine now. Imagine if everyone's paying $5 and you're still paying around $3 for gas. When I say that, it hits everyone to me like, and I say that's exactly what we're doing, but for people's homes now.
Right.
You're not going to see the 200 savings, 180 savings day one. No, it's not about that anymore.
Right.
It's about stabilizing you, right? Because two things are just a fact of life. Number one, you're going to use electricity for the rest of your days. Just fact. We live in America. And inflation is real. Straight up.
Right.
And over the past few years, everyone has felt the inflation. They felt the milk. They felt the eggs, whatever it is. So everyone knows that. So when I say, so if something you know you're going to use for the rest of your life, and you know that the prices are going to keep going up, it kind of just makes sense to protect you from that.
Right. Yeah, you take something that maybe appears complex, right? Like the truth is most people don't understand how to read an electric bill or what's a kilowatt hour? What does that mean, right? But they understand something as simple as the price of gasoline. You buy by the gallon. Cartons, you buy by also by the gallon, right? And so you buy by the gallon. And so you take something that's complex, but then you pair it with something that's familiar so they can understand the complexity maybe of solar. Like, oh yeah, I get what you're saying about $2.90 a gallon for gas. That makes sense to me. And now it makes sense why instead of 45, I'm going down to 25 cents or 28 cents, whatever, because we're doing PPAs here. Yeah. So it sounds like you take things that are very simple, complex, but then you make it simple.
Exactly. And that's just my whole close is I just want them to and I'm watching, and again, just from the books I've read and, NLP and seeing how people move and how they tense up and things like that. I could tell if someone understands what I'm saying, or I could tell when their eyes start glazing over.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'll be sure to dive deep. Like, does that make sense? Or actually, let me try to re-explain that real fast. Because I can just tell from their body language if they're with me. And as long as they're with me, I just always go back to if you're going to pay $5 for gas and you could rather pay $3, you would obviously pay the $3, right? So to me, solar is so simple, and it's such a no-brainer that I'm honestly confused when people don't sign up.
Right.
And
here's what's powerful is that what you're saying is genuine to you, and I think, like I said earlier, people overcomplicate it, right? I mean, if I can summarize a few things you said, it's like, number one, you are your authentic self in the close. You don't pretend to be somebody you're not, right? You don't pretend to be this polished salesperson and you say the right things and, no, hey, this is who I am. And then number two, you make it simple, right? You let the numbers speak for themselves, right? You say you break down the bill, right? You add 1 + 1 = 2, and you let them see, hey, this is what you're paying now. Okay, now let me show you some projections of where you're going to pay in the future. You can even go one level deeper and say, this is what the rates used to be. Most people don't know this, but San Diego, when I first started in 2016, the average price per kilowatt was 19 cents. Wow. CARE back then was 14 cents, right? 14 cents was CARE now is 36 cents, right? Yep. And rising. And so you let the numbers speak for themselves, right? And you just simplify it, and you're just a human. And I think people are always looking for this, there's a word you're saying, there's a certain story. It's like, dude, just be you, make it simple, let the numbers speak for themselves. Some will say yes, some will say no, move on. And then work hard, right? Keep finding people.
Real quick. Sorry to cut you off. Like that, what you just said reminded me. Brad Lee. I went to an event and Brad Lee was there, and it was and what he said, he was like, the reason you guys come here is because you want that one word, you want that one line, you want that one thing that's just gonna take you to the next level. And he's like, it's just hard work. He's like, all my success and career and everything, I haven't found anything to replace those repetitions,
Ooh.
that hard work, right? And everyone's coming here for that secret. There's no secret. I've sat in so many closes. I've knocked so many doors that like the doors aren't softer, but I get better. So the doors become soft. Like you said in the very beginning, like it gets easier.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. There's no secret.
To even go on that. I mean, what's crazy is people spend, and I'm not against it, right? I do think you should invest in yourself, but sometimes people have the kind of heart posture of they're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars to go to certain events looking for that one thing without realizing that I would say 90% of what's said at these events you can find for free on YouTube.
Yep.
Right. But then you just got to apply it. You just got to do it. You got to believe in yourself. And you got to work hard. But because there is no shortcut. Like you can't buy a course to there's no get rich quick things. And if there is, it probably isn't stable anyways.
Yeah.
Like you grinded it out for years before you became where you are today. I grinded it out for years. Before solar, I did network marketing and I had a fitness apparel company. I made no money doing that. But you best believe I learned skill sets. Yep. I learned the art of how to overcome resistance and then, so on and so on. Now, one thing I want to talk through, Jack, is I'm sure for you, the close doesn't end at the close, right? Because solar is clearly a very relational type of job there's like a lot of relationship building. So what are some things you do once you leave the home? Okay, cool. So when you're in the home, you're yourself, you break down the numbers, you use analogies, simple, right? This is what you're paying right now. This is what you're going to pay now, right? And then I'm sure you had humor in there and whatever. And then we can go deeper in that. But I want to hear now more. What are you doing even after the sale? Because I'm sure it doesn't end. It's not like you're not the kind of guy that signs them up and you never hear from them ever again, right? You're not a fly-by-night guy. And how I know that is because your referral game also is like next level. Like I'm sure now you get so many referrals, but people would not give you referrals if you had not provided an extraordinary customer experience. So what are some things you do post close?
I'll touch one thing that I do in the close still that helps for the post. And that's I set expectation. I'm setting proper expectations on when they're going to hear from me, when they expect to hear from me. I'm letting them know, because I've done high volume for many years. I let them know like, hey, I'm pretty busy. You know what I mean? So I'm not the person, I'm not going to call you twice a week just to let you, if there's no update, right? And I just set good expectation of the timeline.
Wow.
And I kind of prep my customers. If you don't hear from me, that's actually a good thing because that means everything is moving, everything is working. When you hear from me, when you get the text or the call, that means there's a kink, something popped up and we need to handle that as fast as possible to get the train back moving.
Wow.
Right. So I prep them and I let them know the process and I use, Legacy has the pamphlets and I literally use that pamphlet and I let them know, hey, this is where we're at today. This is where we're going to be. I'm going to send out the site survey. I just set the proper expectation.
Yeah.
And I always under promise and over deliver, meaning I say, hey, if I say, hey, even though we can get installs in outrageously fast time sometimes, right? I say, hey, it's gonna be about 6 to 8 weeks probably. Right? I let them know I have seen 3-4 weeks, but I'm just letting you know. Right. And then when it does happen faster, it's a nice surprise, especially for inspection. I let them know. So I set expectation first off, the main thing I do, and then I'm going to send an update text probably once every 10 days, right? Once every 10 days. It's just because I have so much volume that I can't be reaching out to people. If there's an update, I'll let them know right away. If there's any kickback, any update, any change order, I let them know in the close too.
Yeah.
Hey, if anything, my line is like, hey, if anything changes in the sun hours, right? Your kilowatt hours, I say, your cost, anything where it would even make your price go up $1, everything stops. I'm gonna let you know. I'm gonna come back, sit back down with you. But I let them know also. But if your price actually ends up dropping $1 or $2, I'm pretty sure you're okay with saving money. So we're gonna keep moving forward. Right. So, and I just keep. I reach out to them about once every 8 to 10 days with an update. If there's no update, it's like, hey, yeah, everything's moving forward. Everything's looking good. Your roof came back good. Your meter came back good. I'll let you know next steps.
Yeah.
And realistically, I don't have to reach out to them so much because by the third time I'm about to reach out to them, it's like that third time I do reach out to them, it's like, hey, great news. We have permits approved.
Right.
what day works for you?
Yeah.
Boom, get them installed. And then we're on top of them more now. Like make sure they have all the docs signed, everything, that they're responding to emails. I'm kind of, once it's installed, I kind of like letting them know like, hey, it's kind of like my back office's job now. They're going to be the ones reaching out directly to you and things like that. If you can make sure to respond, because like that's kind of, I'm kind of like teeing them up and stepping away, if you will. Right. I'm still there for them if they text me, call me, all of that. But I'm letting them know like, hey, this is kind of like above my head, if you will.
Yeah.
Right. For like, you know, the PTO and all of that.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah. That's all I'm really doing. I'm reaching out to them.
And for context to the people listening to this, right? I mean, some people might be like, what, 8 to 10? That's not a lot, right? For context, Jack runs a 100-man team, right? He's married, has 2 beautiful children, right? He's also a leader in his church. You know, he has responsibilities there. And so, of course, what I love about the setting the expectation kind of principle is you decide what that looks like for you.
Yeah.
Right. Jack has decided because of all the other things he has going on, his capacity is only 8 to 10.
Yeah.
You know, because again, you also are taking many rep phone calls, right? You're running trainings, you're doing recruiting meetings, you're doing these things like podcasts, right? Yeah. You're also traveling, you have date nights, you have kids, right? You have church activities. And so if you're somebody right now that is like single, no kids, you're not leading anybody, okay, maybe don't do 8 to 10 days, right?
Absolutely not.
You might need to do maybe more, right? And be a little bit more intentional, right? But at the end of the day, whatever expectations it is you do, just set them really, really well with homeowners. Because at the end of the day, when a homeowner goes solar, they don't know what they don't know. You get to decide what those boundaries look like. And if Jack has decided, hey, I don't want to be overwhelmed with a million, like because if you say it's going to be 3 days, they're going to expect a update every 3 days. If they don't hear from you by day 4, they start getting a little bit sketched out. Like Jack said, 3 days.
Yep.
So he knows for his current lifestyle, it's 8 to 10. So, you know, for the people listening, you know, you set what that looks like for you, right? It looks different if you're a single guy, no kids, no, you know, or you're not leading anybody, but Jack is leading a big team, has a family, has a church organization. And so I just want to give context around that as well.
Yeah. If your pipeline is 3 sales for the month, like take care of those babies.
Jack's
like,
pipeline is three sales a day. So.
Yeah, no, yeah, right. But you know what I mean? Like, so obviously, take care of those babies, those 3 babies. But if, you know, again, you have 15, 20 that month, then like, yeah, you're going to run yourself rampant.
Yeah. So Jack, as we close, because it's crazy, we've almost been at about an hour. But as we close, you know, I want to ask you one final question. Just what would you say to that guy that's looking to go to, you know, like the next level, like more specifically, maybe hit double-digit months, right? I think in solar, that's kind of like the gold standard, right? It's like a double-digit month. If you can get 10 sales or more, right? Like I think 8 is like you're pretty good, but if you can get 10 consistently, you know, you're doing really, you're definitely in like the top 10%, even 5% in solar. And it's funny because you're somebody who like, if you get 10 exactly, that's a bad month for you. And I remember, I think there was 1 month, I think you got 8 or 9 and you were like red alert, you know, where most people are like, dude, 8's pretty good, you know? But I think for you, that's like the floor, right? Like 10. But I think consistently though in solar, listen, if you can get 10 consistent sales a month, minimum 50% pull through, right? That's 60 installs a year. I get it. California is different. I mean, you're making at least bare minimum $200K a year, right? Depending where you sell and PPW and all that stuff and EPCs. Yeah. But minimum 200 to maybe 500,000 a year. That's pretty good. What would you say to that person that's trying to get to that level? How do they get there?
I'm big on like, you have to find your lane. You have to find your people. Like I could sell to anyone, obviously, but you have to find like your niche. You know what I mean? Like people know I'm huge in HOAs, huge in condos. Like I look and I see people doing big numbers and they all have a niche. They've all found a lane. Like even if it's, you have a team of 15 setters, like that's your thing. And that's how you're getting to those numbers. Find your lane, find your people, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Number 1. And number 2, the more you knock doors, the easier it becomes. Like just make it. When I actually started getting kind of good, and it was probably like 6 months of setting appointments, and then I was like, okay, like I can set appointments. Like I know what I'm doing. My appointments are, you know, 70+%, you know, pull through ratio, like actually sitting. I was like one a day. That I need to at least get one solid appointment a day. The problem in this industry, and I could look at everyone's numbers, it's easy, is that no one's working 40 hours in this thing. Maybe we're working 40, but it's different because it's like on the back end, calls, this and that. Like, yeah, I'm probably putting more than 40. Like, no one's knocking for 40 hours. Maybe there's a few people in our company, our office, whatever. No one's doing that.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to make $600,000 a year for 20 hours a week. Right? You used to work 40 hours a week, right? Every week for 20, 25, 35, whatever, how much you were making an hour. You were doing that consistently. And I do this all the time when I'm interviewing people and if like they have another job. And I'm like, cool, like, do you work today? They're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, cool. What time do you go in? They're like, 4. I'm like, oh, are you going to go? And they're like, they look at me strange. They're like, yeah, of course I'm going. But in this industry, who's going out consistently 5 to 6 days a week?
Right.
Most I would dare to say are not.
Yeah.
Because you're your boss. And I have a thing I always say is that you're the best boss you've ever had because you get all the weekends, you get all the holidays, you get the 3-4 day weekends, but you're also the worst boss you've ever had because you don't hold yourself accountable.
Wow.
What I would say, I feel with what our product is and all the utilities across the nation are going up, like everything's going up for electricity, like nothing's going down, is that if you treat this, and that's what I did from the very beginning, I just treated it like a 9-to-5 job. I didn't work the 9 to 5 hours, but I worked the hours always. And my saying was, because I used to be like, I need at least one a day. And I would get one within the first hour. And then I'd be like, well, I do need to go to Discount Tire because right? Like you start coming up with a million things you need to do.
Right.
So then I started a thing saying get at least one super sticky good appointment and work the hours.
Wow.
You always have to work the hours. Meaning if you're saying, hey, I'm working for 5 hours a day, you knock the full 5 hours. You go prospect the full 5 hours. And if in the first hour and a half you get the appointment, no. It's not time you haven't been to the beach in 2 months. You want to go to the beach. No, you have to work it. So it's that simple. It's like the gym. If you go out and knock 5 days a week or 6 days a week, if you're young and you're single and you have the time, go get it.
Yeah.
If you go out 5 days a week for 5 hours a day, you'll fall into 10 deals.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like. You'll fall into 10 deals, right? Because you think about how much better your skill is getting after just 60 days of doing that.
Right.
We've all worked normal jobs and it's your first day and you're like super nervous and like the boss comes in and you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. You're at the register, you're brand new. Any job, you go to Starbucks, within a week, you're a master on the register. Why? Because you've been doing it for 40 hours. The doors, it's different because even though you're out there for 25, 30 hours, you're not actively pitching for 40 hours.
Right.
So it takes actually longer to get better. So you think, oh, I've been doing this for 2 months now and I've been, you haven't, how many, in a whole shift, 5 hours, how much are you actually pitching?
Right.
I don't know, 45 minutes of a 5-hour shift, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I train people, it's different out there. But if you stay consistent, just like you were at the gym or anything in life, consistently with your marriage and you're working on it, you're going to get better and better and better and better. And now you get to the point where you can do 1 a day. And we see people that are doing 2 a day and 3 a day, like real appointments a day.
Right.
If you're able to do 1 a day, 5 days a week, that's 20 appointments. Let's say you're getting better. So you're not getting half pull through, right? To me, you should be getting 60, 70% pull through. That's going to end up with 10, 11 signed
right
a month. And then whatever pull through and installs is, it starts worse, then it gets better. And I realized when I started getting really good is that because the 10 sales thing was cool, but I remember I was like, I need at least 10 installs a month. I need at least 10. And I did that for 2 years, 10 installs a month, 2 years.
Yeah.
Every month, at least 10.
I think your best year was like
152.
152, yeah.
152. Then I did 137 the next year. And then this year I did the least. It was 95.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Jack, thank you so much for being a guest here on this podcast. Of course, I know a lot of people will be impacted by it, but if people want to kind of, hear more about you or just kind of connect with you more, what are some of the ways they can do that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just really through IG for right now, right? Win with Jack, or my wife actually started another page, Solar with Jack. So yeah, that's where you can find me. Hit me in the DMs. I mean, I'm just a dude. I'll respond to you. And I mean, super grateful for having me. Super excited. I'm super excited about 2025. Super excited about what Legacy's gonna do, because we are gonna be legends in this industry.
Yeah.
Like I know for a fact, like with what we're doing and people are falling off like flies, that with like leadership like yours, Jon, realistically, like this guy did a call this morning that was actually not even for us. And I jumped on and it was like, oh my God. So like our leaders are next level. And it's because you guys actually care about not how much your override is, but you guys actually care about people and pouring into people and building up leaders. And no one's gonna touch us. Like we're just gonna bury the competition. Yeah. That's like the other side of me come out. Like I'm ready to put everybody asleep. Like let's go get it.
Go. Well, hey, for those people tuning in, make sure that you also have a great 2025. Jack, thank you again for hopping in. I'm sure we'll have you again on here soon.
Yeah, baby.
And that concludes our episode for today.
Let's go.